friends, neighbors, and fellow VEDSies. Welcome back to BandGeek 8408. It is day 12 of VEDS, and today I first have a couple of announcements regarding the question video that I said I was going to do this Wednesday. First of all, I'm not going to do it this Wednesday for a multitude of reasons, most of them having to do with not having enough time because of other things that I want to do. And so I am going to push that back to probably Friday, and I am also going to be splitting that video into two videos because I have a lot of questions that were for just me and a lot of questions that were for some specific persona. So I'm going to have one video for the personas and one video for just kind of general Mac questions. So that out of the way, this video is going to be about well, this video one in particular, but I am going to talk about the challenges that have been levied toward me. So I currently have a challenge from each of the three other VEDSies that are doing VEDS this year, and I decided that for this video and the next two videos, I am going to tackle those three challenges. So today in this video, I am going to tackle the challenge that was set by Spartanite67 to come up with three modern, either real-life or fictional characters that in some way fit the criteria of a Greek tragic hero. Those criteria being, they have to be born into wealth or greatness. I'm just going to kind of go with greatness or distinction. They have to be great either in intention or skill or in some manner, but they also have to be flawed in some way, and I'm actually going to take that one a step further and say that the flaw is also so much a part of their character that it makes them who they are. They would be a different person if not for that flaw. 3, their downfall, and it doesn't necessarily have to be death, it can just be a downfall, a definite lowering in status, but their downfall has to be at least partially of their own doing. 4, they have to acknowledge the downfall. And 5, this death or downfall can't be a case of martyrdom, it can't be a case of sacrifice, it has to be something that they could have avoided. I hope I got that right, Spartanite67. I'm not an expert at this by any means. So here are the three modern figures that I have chosen, and for this first one I should say that I'm kind of stretching the definition of modern to include basically anything within the last century. First character, Syd Barrett. For those of you who don't know, Syd Barrett was the founder of the band Pink Floyd, and in the 60s he was kind of known as being something of a weird, mad musical genius. He wrote songs that were very original, very whimsical, and very much defined the early sound of Pink Floyd, and he helped Pink Floyd get their start. Unfortunately, Barrett was also addicted to drugs, specifically LSD, and it's entirely possible that this addiction to LSD is what gave him his sort of original whimsical nature of his songs in the first place, but regardless, he was addicted to it, and it did start to affect first his playing and his singing, and then finally his music writing, until finally the other members of Pink Floyd had no choice but to kick him out of the band. And there's no telling what Pink Floyd would have been like had he stayed in the band, but after he left and after they kind of stumbled around trying to find their sound without him for a little bit, they eventually produced The Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here and The Wall, which were three of their best known and still probably most popular albums. Who knows? But Syd Barrett definitely missed out on that, and I think that he spent the rest of his life kind of regretting that. Number 2, a fictional character, Sirius Black from the Harry Potter series. I picked this character mainly because I think of all of the characters who end up dying in the Harry Potter series, and there are quite a few, Sirius Black is really the only one who fits the criteria of tragic hero death as opposed to martyrdom or accidental death. Sirius Black was born into wealth, literal wealth in his case, and he did have greatness, at least in intention. He was on the side of the angels, even though he was at times kind of arrogant and restless and impulsive and occasionally a prick. And his death came about because of that tragic flaw that was also very much a part of his nature, both his impulsiveness and restlessness and his cockiness. He didn't have to leave the safety of number 12 Grimmauld Place in order to go save Harry. He could have let the other members of the Order of the Phoenix handle it, and they probably would have been just fine, but he wanted to go, and he got arrogant and cocky during the fight, and that may have also been a big cause of him being shot down and killed. Now, the only question about Sirius Black is whether he actually acknowledged his downfall, and I don't think he acknowledged it directly, but I think he was kind of aware that that was the end that he was going to head to. Like, I think he was aware enough of his own flaws that he knew that there was really no way that his life could end happily. He was probably going to die in that way. Now on this last one I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm not going to talk about a person. I'm going to talk about a thing. I'm actually going to talk about a television show. The television show in question is Heroes, which was one of my favorite television shows for a long time, and I'm actually going to be talking about this in more detail in the next podcast of We Talk Stuff that I do with my friend Jesse. But suffice it to say, Heroes started out with a great deal of promise. In its first season, it was tremendously popular. It gained a huge following. Lots of people really loved it, and it was set to become a real groundbreaking piece of television. Unfortunately, that first season was arguably a little bit too good. The creator, Tim Kring, didn't even think that it would last past one season, and so he didn't really plan for it lasting past one season. And having set the bar so high initially, the remaining seasons kind of got lower and lower in quality until the television show finally just kind of fizzled out. And now, unfortunately, nobody really talks about it anymore. They did that Heroes Reborn thing a little while ago, and I honestly don't know how well that went. I only watched the first episode and haven't really caught up with what people thought of it or anything. But it just seems like Heroes doesn't get recognized anymore for just how good it was in that first season. And I do think there's a little bit of an acknowledgement in the fact that Heroes, by the fourth season, had basically given up. Like, the fourth season wasn't too bad, but they'd basically given up by that point. Now, if you're really gonna twist my arm and press me to pick an actual person, I'd probably pick the creator, Tim Kring, but really, I think I'm gonna stick with choosing Heroes, the television show, because that's a pretty tragic hero in my book. So that's it. I don't know if I completely fulfilled the challenge, but I hope you enjoyed the video anyway, and until next time, friends and fellow VEDSies, I will see you tomorrow for challenge number 2. Take care.